Finance Committee, School Board meeting to order. First item is approval of the March 7, 2024 Finance Committee minutes and March 21st, 2024 Special Finance Committee minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Still moved by Mr. Kamari, seconded by Mr. Muller. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2, financial update.
Good evening. As of March 31st, we were 76.92% through fiscal year '24. Overall, all of our accounts, we've spent or encumbered 75.9%, which is on target. Salary and benefits, we're at 70.1%. And then non-salary and benefit expenses, we've spent or encumbered 90.5%. That's pretty much all I have for the update this month. Just general. We'll get to other items down below.
Questions?
Sorry.
No, thank you, Sue.
Yep.
All right.
Do it.
Next item is the switching equipment bid, which was for CIC. They got 2 bidders. One was significantly lower, Omada Technologies at $136,954.05. And Don DeMars is suggesting that we move forward with them. This is a bid that we will only be paying 40% of the cost. E-rate reimburses directly for the other 60%. So Omada will just only be invoicing us for the 40%.
How much was that again?
The total bid is for $136,954.05.
What's our share?
Our cost will roughly be, it's a little over 40 because there's certain parts that they don't cover. It's about $60,484.02. And we have that money in the budget for this year.
I'll make the motion to accept that, the $136,954.05, what it is? For the switching bid.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Mr. Bullard?
And just for clarification, out-of-district funds will only be $60,484.02, correct?
That is what is the projected cost for the district. Yes.
How much?
$60,484.02.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is donation.
Donations. So we have 2 donations today that are over the threshold that need board approval. The first being a lumber donation for the tech center. Lumber's been donated, or is looking to be donated by Boys Cascade and Ricci Lumber. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Let me see, Ricci. That's totaling about $2,700. We would just need approval from the board for that.
Make a motion to approve the donation of, or accept the donation of the lumber, Ritchie lumber, Boise Cascade.
Second.
So did you say?
To a value of $2,700.
Motion by Mr. Kamari, second by Mr. Kusaman. Any discussion? Ms. King,
Is that for a specific project?
probably for the CIT, just
Yeah, for the CTE millwork program,
Which one?
the millwork program at the CTE.
Oh, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Any
Thank
more
you.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
The next donation will be a total of $5,000. We've received a check for the first portion, which is $3,750. And it's coming from Propane Education and Research Council. And referenced on here. This is 75% of the funds, and they'll be sending the remaining 25% later in the calendar year of 2024. These funds are to be used to buy new technology equipment for the CTC center that Perkins does not cover. That's what this one's for. So I don't know, they make a motion for the full 5 now?
I move to accept the donation for the $5,000 from Propane,
Propane Education and Research Council.
that place,
And research.
for the CTE technology donation.
Motion by Mr. Kamiri,
Second.
second by Mr. Kusumano. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any more donations?
That's it for donations.
Yeah.
Do we, is it like standard practice for us to send a thank you when we receive donations?
Alrighty, next item is the 20-year debt protection.
So last month you had asked for me to work on a 20-year debt projection. I wrote, somebody wrote protection, but it's
It's
projection.
projection, okay.
So I,
That's this yellow paper.
yeah, that's
Alright.
this nice yellow paper. I worked with Mark Sullivan, the finance director at the city, kind of sent over a template that they use to project their debt. So I plugged in, you're gonna see the bottom 5 lines are all new debt that we have not yet bonded, starting with the Salmon Falls Road Elementary School. And then I kind of just projected that, well, Mark said that he is going to bond a number of other projects this coming summer, so our first payment will be due in FY '26 on that amount. So those amounts are plugged in as well. The bottom 3 lines, I just projected a portion of our bonded CIP lines to be bonded about $1.5 million for the first 2 years, with an extra $1 million the 3rd year. Again, this is all projection, depending when the city decides to bond. I used 4% at Mark's recommendation for the interest. As you can see, it peaks in FY '28, and then it will gradually start to decline. It will decline quite a bit after the East Rochester School is paid off, and that's in FY '36. So there'll be a sharp drop then. But again, this is just kind of a projection of our existing bonding projects that are out there.
Sam, thank you for this.
You're welcome. Any questions?
When you're looking at forecasting, did you put like a athletic field like number? Or like another school down the road that we've always talked about in 5-year?
I did not. This is
No.
only existing bonded projects.
I was gonna recommend that you bring this up at 5-year, so when, as we talked about the second location, 5-year, this is where you might say strategically where you might
year
want
that we
to
can do
start
that.
planning. Yep.
So, if I may,
Yeah.
Sam, working with Mr. Sullivan, did he, I don't recall a number that is tax cap as far as, we're capped as far as bond outages, retiring so much bond before we absorb any new bond. Is there a number that's?
There's a limit.
There's no,
Something to keep in mind. for
well,
sure.
no, I
Yeah.
understand it. I just want to make sure that we're not, because you're absolutely right. There's nothing in here, and yes, the numbers drop off in 10 years, 12 years from now significantly, but are we waiting 10 to 12 years to do something, so.
Mr. Kusumano.
Just a question, are we allowed to pay extra on this so we could drop it off quicker and not end up paying such a high interest rate over 20 years?
I think every bond issue is different. I know they've been using, in Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank a lot with the recent couple of issues. Prior to that, I think it wasn't through the bond bank. So I'm assuming different series have different
Any
rules
chance
attached to them.
next committee, you could tell us, I don't know, whatever ones, or whatever ones, we might be able to send excess money at the very end of the year, the last minute, wire transfer it out to them. And
I
maybe we
can
can
inquire,
drop
yeah,
down.
the city does all the payments,
Yeah, I'm just,
but I can inquire.
yeah, inquire a route that maybe instead of giving 5 million back like we did one year, we send 5 million and we drop this $9 million in interest down a lot quicker, which then we put on a 5-year for the school, which then we could rebond if we needed to a lot sooner for another school. It's just an idea to start researching, take until next community.
Yeah, very good.
Exactly.
And then use it.
Any more discussion on that? You good? All right, so the next item is the FY '24 surplus estimate.
What are we waiting for? So after going through almost line by line on our budget, and deducting out projected retirement payouts for the teachers that are coming, that we have to pay out the end of June, I'm estimating our surplus to be $2,173,000.
Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
$2,173,000.
Thank you.
Again, it's just an estimate, but I'm guessing, I feel pretty confident that we'll have a $2 million surplus. Saying, with that said, I know Mr. Toddy was just projecting almost $200,000 in projects that we'd be looking to maybe pay for with this money out of this year. And I feel pretty confident in saying that that would be okay.
Mr. Bowler?
Earlier, we had another committee, City Manager Ambrose brought forward just her synopsis when we were talking about the budget. And she had a quick review estimate of 4 million. Could you just touch upon the variance from her 4 million that she put in the letter to the 2.1? Obviously, you went line by line, so I trust that a bit more, but I just wanted to, I don't know if you had any indication
I
of,
don't know where she got that.
oh, she just did 5.
She just did the trend, our trend.
Oh, trend. Thank you.
Comes pretty close to your 4.1.
Okay.
I tried to be a little conservative as well.
And I
Cut it too
appreciate
close,
that.
yes.
Mr. Bowler?
That's 2.1, I know there's more to it.
Yep.
Does that include the 61, or basically the 61K, which is for your switch project? Does that number already include that? Or we need to take out the
Oh,
60?
no, I'm sorry, the switch project's already accounted for.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
This was just into what Mr. Galileo had said, and what Mr. Rafusi had said then too, that some of that projected money was like COVID, like what Ms. Ambrose had said, so that could be the difference in there too.
Sure.
So, this 2,173,000, are there any recommendations from,
I was gonna recommend, that the board consider making a motion to transfer, 1 million or up to 50% of our FY '24 surplus to the school building capital reserve fund.
Mr. Boyer?
By doing that, that means the rest of the remaining funds could go towards what building committees bring forward, right? I just want to clarify, thank you.
Oh, wait, I do that.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Boyer.
Are we allowed to pay, I know our insurance went up huge. Are we allowed to pay a portion ahead of time? Like if we wanted to pay 25% or put it down?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
The invoice is monthly based on, people can come and go.
So,
I'm just gonna make the, did you have a question, or?
well, it's just, obviously I know facilities utilized, I understand, but was there anything, any other departments in the district that could use this, whether the music department, the athletic department? Remember we have the track that we're gonna have to come up with $450,000 to replace, so there's the fence around the district, so there's many, the fence, and we're not even sure if we're gonna get help from the city might be able to help a little bit, but I don't think they'll plan on
Can we actually get discussions on that?
too much. Hold on, Mr. Allen.
Can I get on my soapbox for a minute? So I do think that a good chunk of this money needs to be for supplies for the school. Pencils, crayons, copy paper. Being a teacher in the district for 6 years and seeing all my colleagues and then seeing some of the survey responses for staff on the staff need thing that we'll hear about more next week. Teachers are spending a lot of their own personal money on supplies because we, as a district, aren't providing enough. The middle school runs out of paper, we get the notice, we used to get the notice, in February, like May, we're almost out of paper, stop doing paper things, and as a person who did primarily paper, that was always icky. So I think it would be beneficial to consider that. My science budget at the middle school was $1 per student, which is not enough for a science budget. So kind of keeping the kids in mind and what supplies are needed at the schools for the kids to help the teachers, I think would be hugely beneficial to consider.
So, going to your comment about the tracks, and correct me, I guess the question is, if we, it was recommended to put up to 50% into school building capital reserve. Is that not specific, or too specific to fencing or track or whatever upgrades, like the building needs?
So the school capital reserve fund is for the building of a new school. If you approve that motion, we're gonna include that request in our budget presentation, I think on May 7th. There's no guarantee that the city council will do that. So if you turn over $2 million and you ask for $1 million to go in school capital reserve, they could do it, or they could do $750,000. They could do $200,000 if they want. They could do $0 if they want to. So,
For a high-ticket renovation, like the track or something like that, that we may get stuck with.
I think it's a high risk. We do that, we're taking a risk of not getting it back.
And that's why I'm asking the question, so, but it's for a future school or?
yes, it's a very.
Is what the intent of that
And I think the other thing you have to keep in mind too is whatever monies are utilized right now, everything that's ordered needs to be here by June 30th. So, again, that's why you asked me to try to go out a couple months ago with the bidding.
So my, hold on, my suggestion, I'm not saying that's what we do, but possibly have our administrators reach out to the school, maybe get some people from special services and instruction, see if there's anything that they're looking for or what they need, because when it comes to instruction, she's talking about supplies. Then you go into special services, you got multiple stuff there. So I think before we even decide where this money goes, we might want to let the other committees look into what else we need in the district as a whole. That's just a recommendation or for discussion.
I'm just curious, have you had serious conversations about the track? Or
Yeah.
is this just floating in the air out here in the ether?
It was already presented to us. We got one more year till it's got to be ripped up and dug out, and that's just Mr.
Well, I know
Mr.
that's
Toddy
Mr.
already-
Toddy's assessment, I
Mr.
understand
Toddy
that,
already-
but
Well, that's
before
not-
that gets done, don't you have to have a
it-
discussion with the city if you want them to kick in 50%?
Well, they're not gonna kick in 50%. They might kick in maybe a quarter, They're not kicking in 50%.
Don't make decisions
I'm
for
just
those
saying,
guys down
because I've
there.
talked to a few.
You know, I sat there too many years to know,
Well,
you
because
know.
I've talked to a few council members, and they've already said that they're not looking for 50%, might be willing to help out a little bit, but.
Don't approach their conversation with that, because they'll cut it down to that.
So right now, what I'm
25%.
recommending, my suggestion would be looking in district whole with this money,
Yeah, and
before we make a recommendation right now.
And I'd like to suggest that when you do have that conversation, that you get the Rochester runners and all of those groups that do running, get them to come in and advocate for it. You know, it's a big deal in Rochester, so.
Mr. Cusimano?
So, as the vice chair of building, I have had some talk with city councils, I know the chair has too, about the track. And I've gotten the same thing. They will help, they will not fund the project.
Well,
So it's,
I
no,
understand
and
that.
it's a continued,
Yeah.
they have not put a dollar amount, they have not anything. So I just wanted to answer that. I've engaged on that part.
I sat on the council for 25, 30
No, no.
years. I know exactly what they think down there.
Yeah, so.
And if you don't ask for it, you will never, ever get it.
Yeah, so, but before we go too far into throwing money at schools and stuff like that, so I wanna bring up a major point. We pushed over 195,000 from building, which is a physical 25 savings, which we're still technically in the hole. So, which leaves us with $978,000 approximately if we move that 1 million over to capital, was it capital fund? Capital reserve fund. So before we distribute too much, since we are gonna get $195,000 savings in 2025 budget, which we've already wanna save the teachers' jobs, we have a plan, but this is guaranteed savings, and that's guaranteed almost 3 teachers' jobs. I say we move to approve that, then we talk about the capital, and then we talk about maybe distributing X amount of dollars to each school that can be supplies given based off of feedback from everybody and special services, whatever, that can be here by the date. That's just a recommendation.
So, what I'm saying, because you got 2 weeks, they have their committees. So it would give Allison 2 weeks to
Yeah,
reach
yes.
out to all the schools and all the department heads and all our directors of their departments, to be able to come back to her with, yeah, we could use, this is what we're showing, we could use this. I just wanna make sure that we don't go off spending all this money without even having all
Oh, no,
stakeholders involved.
I fully agree, but the savings of 195,000 that comes off of a budget that we're already over on, that we need to save money, yes, we're projected, we should have, based off of this letter, based off of the work you've done. But that's guaranteed money, and that's almost guaranteed 3 positions. So I would say we do that real quick, approve that money in, because that's guaranteed savings for 2025. Then we either make a choice to move 1 million, and we work with 978,000, or we work with $1,978,000.
Mr. Boyer?
So, historically, we would just look at the district at these moments and say, what's the dollar amount that you would recommend up to? And then, instead of them, because if we go, it's all about timing at this point, right? So if we went through today, and then it's a final approval at the board meeting, and then they have to meet with committees, then it's a next month, and then it's not until mid-May that anything can be looked at to purchase. Usually at this point, finance would say up to, and I'd always ask Sam and Kyle, like, what's the dollar amount? And they'd say 300,000, 400,000, whatever. We would recommend it to full board, and then when they meet with those committees and those different departments, just to see what could we purchase this year as a savings to next year or to get things going, they can just do it, and they just report to finance committee, this is what we spent the money on, we're good. So it's typically a good practice, and we'll leave the admin to figure out what you need, and that way they're not waiting for more and more approvals. So that's a way to structure it. So I guess my next question is, how much would that make sense if we wanted to structure it that way?
Again, I think it's one of those things where, you know, you're asking for up to 1 million. You could be asking for more in the school capital reserve, because the school capital reserve will basically decrease the amount of debt and future tax impact. So I think you want to be somewhat mindful of that. But again, I think, looking at, if you just took that 900,000 raw dollars
Yeah.
and you said, okay, 10 schools, 15 grand each, right, perhaps. 15 grand is different at one school than another, but then Alice and I, Sam, can talk to department heads and see, maybe one school needs 3, another one needs 18, we can move that around, but I think, as you said, you might wanna just give a flat dollar amount from what is available, and then allow us to work with department heads to figure things out.
Ms. McGowan?
I like Matt's suggestion on just giving that dollar amount and then they can figure it out. I do agree we should, vote on the Mr. Toddy's stuff, cause that is needed as he's presented to us before. And then third, the staff needs survey stuff is what we're discussing at the full board next week, which will also give, superintendents, assistant superintendents more insight into things that teachers are saying, because there are other things in there besides increase our pay, that cost money, that, could be beneficial for them to know about, to use this on as well.
Mr. Fusi took what I was gonna say, but I just wanna say I support funding a capital reserve account. We've talked about it with the city staff. It is beneficial to us and taxpayers because we could transfer that money out to put toward the bond to lower the bonded amount, which will help with our current new elementary school being built. So I definitely want to start funding that each year to build that trend and that, make it something we do every year.
No, I agree, we need to start being smart. If we have extra money, let's move it. I know the city might not allow us to move the whole million something, but yeah, I would also say either a quarter or 300,000 between the schools. Let's up it good, let's get them what they need. If they can get the items in time, that's 10 schools, that's double what the superintendent's asking for, or his suggestion of 15. That if we went to 300, that's 10 schools, that's 30,000 a school, and like he said, one school might use 3, the other one needs 25. That would still, if we did that, that would still leave us ballpark 678,000. I would ask Mr. Toddy to go back and see if there's any, like i.e. the fence. We can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up fence.
No.
Or, I'm just,
The whole.
no, I understand, but I'm just using it as a general, that if he came to us and say, hey, I need 50 grand and that'll save another 25 and I can go buy it at Lowe's today. That still leaves us 678,000, and I do believe we should still leave some buffer because we don't know what's gonna happen between now and June 31st. Or June 30th, sorry.
I'm ready to do some motions, so we
Yeah.
can ball rolling if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So let's start with the capital reserve fund. I make a motion that we fund the capital, or we request the city council for a funding of the capital reserve fund of $1 million.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Cusimano. Any discussion? No more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Boyer.
Make a motion that we authorize superintendent to spend up to $300,000 throughout the district as needed from our future discussions with committees, and the survey will be presented to the board.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Cusimano. Any discussion?
Would this be specifically for like
As
school,
needed,
as needed for school, like,
as needed. It could be there, that's what we pay the administrators to figure out how many paper clips does it need to go into the basket, let them figure that out.
okay.
So it could go all schools, depends, that's, I don't wanna count color copy here.
Supplies and not equipment.
As needed.
Okay.
So I think obviously we have the survey, you might be able to get a lot off that survey. I'm assuming they'll reach out to all the administrators on the district, find out what they're short on.
I do know something that came up a lot was, like desks, like really old desks in some elementary schools and chairs. I have no idea how much that costs and if that's anything that we can get before then. I know that came up consistently. So I don't know if 300 is enough, if that is something that we would, like you guys would think, I don't know.
That's a good point. I mean, I think there are some old desks, if you will, but I think what's really important is, one, we probably won't be able to get desks and chairs in that amount of time.
Oh,
But you have to think about our budget cycle. Like, if I was a principal, like, I looked at desks when I was a principal, and I'd say, is that still a usable desk? Yep. Is it worth amending my budget because I want a nicer, shinier one? All of our principals have a furniture line in their budgets, and they have the ability to talk to the business manager to say, I need an extra $5,000 this year because we gotta replace 2 classrooms worth of chairs. So those are things that I think, again, staff, like, again, as a principal, when I did my budget, I said to my staff, come tell me what you think you need so that I can either vet that we truly need it or not. So I think some of the things in the survey, I'm not saying we're not gonna take the survey, is that we need staff to advocate for themselves with their administrator to then use the proper channels of the budget cycle to appropriately plan for purchases such as that. Because buying furniture is a big deal in a school, and it's something that's costly, but you also want to try to match things if you can, and so, but we can look at that.
So on top of that, like she was saying earlier about paper, supplies, is that also part of what they should be planning for?
Yep.
So if they're running out of paper in, like she said, February, is that the principal obviously didn't plan accordingly, or is that how it normally, I'm just curious.
I mean, usage is something that's, we've been able to better track through our copier lease program right now. They give us a report every month on the amount of paper and toner used, and so that hasn't really been an issue lately. But I think bigger things like classroom, furniture or storages, those are things that would need to be amended and possibly changed. Because, one year, a principal, I remember talking to him earlier, he had like $30,000 in his budget, just because it was $30,000 in the budget the year before where they bought tables for the cafeteria. And so he looked at his budget and he wasn't making any changes, and I said, you have $30,000 for cafeteria tables. You bought them last year. You don't need them. You should be asking to have that money moved somewhere else if it's in your budget. So people need to be part of the cycle to work with their budgets. So, again, I think a lot of this will be, is there something that, anatomy needs? If it is, it's something we can look at, but we'll ask principals to talk to their department heads and see what they need.
Sounds good. Aaron, so,
It was a motion and seconded.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. You have another one, or is that?
No, that'll be number 8. We can do the other stuff.
Alright. So we'll go to financial items from personnel. Do we have any? I don't think any financial items, the contracts don't go in, right?
No,
No,
it's
good.
just the restoring of the position that I think is
Yeah.
We're all set.
Okay. So we'll move on to number 8, financial items from building. So we'll start with the first one. I'll make a motion for the Maple Street Magnet site work improvements to be done by MC Build LLC in the amount of $217,000.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bollier. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Second one is the McCollum Playground Equipment. Make a motion for a play core for up to $160,000 from the current, with the approval of additional $40,000 pending approval of the FY25 CIP budget.
second.
Second by Mr. Mary. Discussion, Mr. Bollier.
I'll just ask you to amend it to 160,030.89.
160,00389.
Yes, Mr. Toddy will.
That's a amount of 160,00389. Second by Mr. Mary. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one is the RMS paving and the road and sidewalk by R&D paving in an amount of $174,850 pending the FY 2025 CIP budget.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyer. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We did move the one-ton truck, and the
Yep.
high crew cargo, and the zero-turn mower, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, the next item is the 110 truck with the plow, an amount of $58,025, and that was from LTV?
Grapponi.
From Grapponi.
Second.
Any discussion? Second by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Kamiri. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one is the high crew cargo van from Bill Doobie, an amount of $56,847.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyer. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then the zero-turn mower from MT Equipment Solutions in the amount of $17,425.54.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kamiri. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Now, are we doing
The 61,000 that remains.
oh, there we go. So, yeah, okay. Make a motion to move the $61,118.79 for spending. What was that, I can't read my handwriting. What was it for? Just
For the remaining.
Is the remaining items.
For the remaining
As
items,
presented by.
that were presented in building.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyer. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's it, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Anything else under, or any financial stuff, till we move on? We're good. 5-year plan, we haven't had it 5 years, so that'll be probably next month, possibly.
This covered it.
Okay. Anyone from the public, wishing to, none, so, we do have one other, myself, Mr. Busey and Dr. Bryant met with, the mayor, the city attorney, and Katie Ambrose, city manager, about, start moving forward with our new legal representation after retiring at the end of June. The plan was, they're gonna put together an MOU, and once that's ready, it's gonna be presented to us, along with the city council, to hopefully get on board and us be working together more collaboratively with the city. There's no numbers to discuss, we didn't discuss any numbers, all that will be in the MOU. Is there anything?
So,
Go ahead.
you haven't discussed numbers, but I would imagine there'd be a cost rate or salary or something as far as time or.
They were actually talking about there might not be worth moving monies because it's one pot, so that they're really gonna talk about the, kind of the form and function that will exist. I think, you'll have one person in the city between all departments to go to, instead of having just, like Attorney Grossman currently. But potentially, I think one of the differences was that you might not have, Attorney O'Rourke at every meeting. It'd be like a call through the board chair or the superintendent, getting that advice for the board.
Does, change off basis, but does he do anything with the police department as far as?
We have.
That's your own prosecutors?
Jerome, we have Jerome. That's,
Okay.
I don't support that. I think we ought to have our own attorney, and I think there's a different way to arrange it, so it doesn't cost much more than we were spending on Jerry, but you have the same guy, there will be conflicts between the school board and the council, and you don't wanna have,
And that did come up, and
Yeah.
if that does occur, then.
well, it's too late
then-
after
no,
it
Would
occurs.
you let me finish? If that does come up, then yes, we would have to, because he is the city attorney, we would have to go outside for legal counsel. But you remember when we went out for bid last time for Jerry, I don't think we had any bids come back in besides Jerry.
I don't think it has to be structured like a full-time guy like O'Rourke is. It doesn't have to be structured that way. You can structure it so you have a part-time guy
I
that
just,
is called in when you need him, and
I just think
you
it's,
know, it's not some guy to sit here for 2.5 hours or 4.5 hours while we diddle around with
I just think it's time this board gets on starts working better with the city. And you start working better with the city, things start
That-
going
That's not gonna be
smoothly.
it, you're gonna lose if you start that, I can tell you right now.
Well, we can discuss it at a full board meeting and see where people stand.
So it's just an MOU to be presented to us, no decision's been made.
No decision been made.
That's fine.
Once we get the
10 o'clock.
MOU, then we can discuss more. So that's all I had on the other. I know we do have going in non-public. So that's, make a motion going into non-public under 91-A, semicolon 3, 2, quote A. Roll call, please.
Make a motion to seal the minutes?
Motion to seal the minutes by Mr. Morano.
Second.
Second by Mr. Boyer, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Anyone wanna make?
I'd like a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Mr. Boyer,
Second?
I'm
second by
voting no
Mr.
against
Mary.
that.
All those in favor?
10:20, I mean, we got
Opposed,
plenty of
motion
time.
passes.
Thank you.